In the last couple of videos over the last few weeks, you've been seeing Blossom. This is a model that I've created myself, and I'm going to tell you about this model in this video right now. This is Groundeffected. My name is your dad, and today this video is sponsored by Groundeffected. This is a Patreon over on Patreon, whatever, it doesn't matter. This model is Blossom. That is Pennybell. You may recognize Pennybell from a previous video, and this is her, and I made this model a couple of weeks, months, who knows. I made this model some time ago. Now the concept for Pennybell was made by me. I drew up the concept, and Nympha 3D is the one who helped us to sculpt this model, which I am forever grateful for. And I'm going to leave a link for Nympha in the description anyway, so you can go and check her out if you like her style of work. Now Blossom, on the other hand, was actually drawn up by a different artist. When I still lived in South Africa, I had an apprentice called Roxy Rose, and she's an absolutely incredible artist. Genuinely, I'm going to leave a link for her too, but you should go and check out her work over on Instagram or whichever platform you feel. But she's a tattoo artist and an illustrator who helped us to draw up the concept for Blossom. Blossom and Pennybell live together in whatever this imaginary world is that we live in, and they are part of a series of models of original, unique characters that are designed to help you learn to print and paint, but also they're just really cool, and they're mine, and they can only be available on my Patreon, and there will be a link for that also in the down below. And annoyingly, I have made this video a little bit late in the month because Blossom has already been out and she's done, and we're coming to the new model already. But I will try to make sure that she is in the starter pack or the welcome pack or whatever it is. I will check with Frankie to make sure that that is possible. And yeah, unfortunately, I have been the worst at getting my own promotion out, but this is my video. It's for me and us and my model, original, custom, unique. By the way, December's model, sculpted by Lucas today. It's an absolutely incredible, epic model. You should definitely go and check out our Patreon if you're interested in just unique stuff that is completely custom. It's not anything out there in the world, so this is stuff that we've made ourselves. And if you're interested in that, well, there's obviously a link. I'm done with the whole link thing. We're over it now. Let's paint this model. I need to prep it, and let's just do that. First of all, the amount of dust from spray painting in this room is a pretty thick layer that needs to be taken off of this model. Also, in case I didn't mention it on this one, Nympha also sculpted this, in case it also isn't apparent, by the way, because they obviously look like they came from a similar artist. But Nympha did these models, and I'm super happy with the work she's done on this. Please go check her out and let her know that I have sent you to go and check her out. In the last few videos, I have been using this Kaleido acrylic primer for all of my priming on my models, and so far I'm pretty satisfied with it. I will let you know if you paint this and you make a mistake, or you realize that underneath there you didn't actually clean it up properly. Well, the best course of action is to dunk the whole thing in some alcohol and scrub it off and start again, because it takes a little while to dry before you can actually sand over the top of it. It has a sort of a rubbery texture, kind of like any other primer really, but I'll be honest, I've tried to sand other primers and had major issues, and the next day if I sand this one, it's not the worst. So I have got all the parts obviously primed, and I want to mention quickly that I've put a white zenithal. Now people often ask me, why do you bother putting the white zenithal and then you cover up those layers with other layers and more layers? It's very important. If you paint over the top of black, the color that is underneath your color is black, and the paints that we use, I just want to be frank with you, none of them are actually fully opaque, and they are a little bit transparent, even the ones that seem to be the most opaque. But Groundeffected, you're saying some fancy words that we have no idea what you're talking about, and I get that. What it means is that the paints cannot be seen through if they are opaque. That means that you can't see through the color, but almost all paints can be seen through. In fact, it depends on actually the paint, obviously, but acrylic paints that we use for painting our models are see-through. And because of this, the underpainting is probably the most important thing. Not to mention, you just couldn't get the vibrant colors over the top of black as you can over the top of white. Now, of course, this is not white, and I've had people say, okay, but why are you painting this gray color over the top? And this is not gray. Let me just focus. This is not gray. It's white over the top of black, which, due to the fact that the paint is not actually see-through, it makes it look like it's gray. Now, I said a whole bunch of words here at this part, but unfortunately for us, my absolute professional nature means that for some reason my sound went funny. So this is kind of like watching one of those martial arts movies, and the words do not match the mouth. So let's just move on. Running off the back of transparent paints, I'm just going to quickly mention that to paint the socks, they are black and white stripes. It would be much harder for me to paint white over the top of black than it is to paint black over the top of white, even if I need to add shading, and we'll deal with that later, but I'm going to quickly lay down the basis for my skin tones, which will be pinkle. I also want to quickly mention, this is how I mix my paints. I pour the paint in, I mix a little bit of water in, I spray what I need to spray, I take the water and I mix it around inside the cup, and I spray it out until it is sprayed all the way out. It is ready for new paint. New paint, black grey. This is what I'm going to be painting over the skirt, and the skirt is actually a black skirt, but we'll make it black in a future clip, not right now, because I need to deal with her hair, and while I'm here I might as well just quickly spray those black and put them aside to dry. Now I'm going to work back on the skin tones again, and I'm going to start out with a brownie sort of color. This is because this lady is of African variety, and she was designed by, in fact, an African. In fact, I am myself an African, but we won't get into semantics of things. Let's quickly talk about the skirt. And to make it look black, I'm going to add a black shade at the bottom of it, and this will help that color that I'd put down in the gray just look like it's black but with a nice highlight. I'm going to spray a semi-gloss over the top of that so that it has a nice texture when we get to it later. Now, for the socks, I want to be using this Wraithbone white, but it is a terrible color, and this is one of those colors that I will add a flow improver to. I don't often use flow improvers, but some colors can benefit from having a flow improver added to them. Getting quickly back to the skin tones now, I'm going to use this base flesh, and I'm going to paint this over the top of all the highlighted areas. And it's hard to explain this or really show it, but all those colors that are underneath there have not disappeared. They are what's adding to the look of the skin tone itself. I'm going to use a brighter skin tone now, and I'm going to add a highlight. This way of painting is kind of a way of building volumes first, roughly in the hue that I want them to be, and then tinting the skin tone later to actually be the color I want it to be. And to tint it, I'm going to use Reichland Flesh Shade. I'm going to spray this much like it was the Orcish Dermis that I would spray on lighter skin tones, except for this time it has a lot more of a tinting value. So I want to get this over everything. The more I put in the shadows, the darker the shadows will be, and the more I put over the skins, the darker the skins will be themselves as well. Now, before I move on to painting the rest with the brush, I'm going to quickly smash that little heart in the front, and I'm going to quickly paint a semi-gloss over the top of all the skin tones. Unfortunately, during my procedure of putting washes, this is what they can do, it didn't go so well on the legs. So I'm going to fix this by going back through all of the previous steps that I laid out in the beginning. When I painted all the skin tones, I put all these down, and once I've put them all down, I'm literally just going to spray them carefully and then take some of that wash again and tie it all back together again. You will not notice this. It's the behind leg. It's okay. So don't panic too much. But that is a way to fix things. People often ask me in the comments, stuff like that. Now for the belt, I just painted a solid black over the top of the belt, and this will just give a really nice contrast between this lovely matte black when it dries and the shininess of the semi-gloss, which is actually a grey and black mixture on the skirt. I'm going to use some silver metallic paint to paint the little clip that is holding the bunion, the dunion, whatever they're going to call this thing that is on her side. Now, of course, this is a little addition that Nympha added onto the model, and it wasn't actually part of it when Roxy drew it. However, it is a fantastic addition, in my opinion, to just complete the look of this model. Getting back to the torso section of the model, I'm going to paint silver over the little neck thing that holds it together, and then paint the necklace itself using black. I'm going to use the same black that I used for the belt, and this will be matte. And in hindsight, maybe I should have put a gloss over the top of this, but I'm happy with how it looks with matte. I'm going to take a little bit of that black Templar and spray that into the heart on her chest as well. And I can do this carefully because I have a large area around it to kind of overspray in. So as long as I'm careful, it's all good. Now for the painful part, and this is painting white over the top of a dark color. And this isn't particularly white, but it's a white color of the white variety, and it takes 7 million layers. I'm not going to make you sit through 7 million layers, but once I had got all those layers on, I can now take some white ink and give it some highlights in the highlight areas. Now taking some Apothecary white, which is actually grey in color, I'm going to spray that into the shadowed areas to give this t-shirt some volume. Then using the same white that I used for the shirt, which I'm pretty sure was a cream white, I'm going to use the side of my brush and carefully go over the stitching that is on the inside of the heart in order to create a very nice little looking stitch line that goes around and just adds a little bit more interest in the look of this little pattern on the front of her t-shirt. I'm going to then glue, yes, I didn't use any magnets in this model. I feel like it's just due to time, I'll be honest. I could have put magnets in, but it would have taken me time, and this is Saturday. I am now voiceovering this at 8 PM on Saturday night, and the video goes up by 5 PM tomorrow. So I started this model this morning, unfortunately. I was a little bit distracted, but we won't get too distracted as I do, and we'll get back to talking about painting this model. And for the hair, I literally just used a matte black. I wanted the hair to look a little bit different to all the other blacks on the body, like for example her stockings and also her skirt. So I figured if I just use a matte black, this will look quite nice over the top of everything. I also painted at the same time as her hair her lovely eyebrows, and I used some stroke technique for this where it's not solid and the edges have a little bit of like a haziness to them because of the stroke technique. I realize that makes absolutely no sense, but I'm pretty sure you can imagine what I'm talking about. I used some gloss black for her earrings and then went back to using some normal black to now paint the stockings. And like I said before, this is so much easier. This took only 2 layers of this black, and in some areas only just 1, but it would have taken me literally days to paint these stockings otherwise. I watched an entire episode of Better Call Saul to paint just the stockings on their own. And once I was done painting the black, I'm going to take some Apothecary white because this will go over the top of that black, but it won't ruin the whites too much. And I can then give that black a highlight by adding that straight through the center carefully on a low air pressure through my airbrush. Now to work on the little whatever the thing is that's dangling on her side, I'm going to be using a little bit of a different color for this, which is going to be deck tan, because I don't want this to match the color of her shirt, and so it just looks slightly different, which is very important for this particular little creature. I painted his little eye sockets white, well, deck tan, sorry, my mistake, and then I used some red, which is this scarlet color, and I painted the little eyes of it red, and I also used a bit of pink to paint inside of his ears, just to make them look nice and cute on the side of its ears, head thing. But after I was done painting these colors, I'm going to take some Griff Charger Grey and spray that into the shadows, also at the back of it as well, and then I painted a semi-gloss over the top of it, and then now I can stick that onto the model. I really like this little companion. I think it really helps to just make this girl look like she lives for real. The next steps are then painting the base, and the base I'm going to keep fairly simple, using a light yellowy kind of brown for the foreground and then a reddish darker brown for the background. I'm going to make a little bit of a blend before I start doing any of the grass dry brushing stuff, nor any of the path itself as well. Now this is not the most craziest of things, but it's quite an effective technique in my opinion. A dark green goes down over everything and then a light green over the top, and as you can see, that brown stays in between the little gaps in between. It looks really nice, the colors look nice. I used a dark gray over the top of the pathway and a slightly lighter gray after that, before using a different green to paint the little plants that stick out over the base. And the reason that I use a different green is because I needed to make sure that it doesn't look like the same plant material as what the base is. You could see me putting another layer of light gray over the top of the path itself and then painting the rocks black. And this is very important because I don't want the rocks to look like they are made of the same substance that the path is made out of. And so while that was drying, I can quickly spray in a little bit of Beltan green, which is a green shade, in order to give some more depth to the outside edges. I'm also going to take some skeleton horde and paint that into the mushrooms at the same time as a little bit of it over the pathway to tint everything a little bit more yellow. I used the same grays that I used on the path over the rocks themselves, using deck tan as the highlight, and you can clearly see how different these look just because of painting it black underneath. And it's, I guess, a testament to the colors that go underneath each other. The whole thing that I've been saying throughout the video. I used that green that I used to paint the rest of the plant there, and then some flat matte black to paint the base itself. Now it is time to take some it is time now to paint some mushrooms, and these are very different mushrooms. Nympha actually painted these, and I didn't actually give her any idea on the color scheme that I wanted to do specifically, but she painted them black, and so I painted them black, but I used a little bit of purple thinned down through my airbrush to go over the top of the peaks of them before I painted the little white dots. And again, instead of using the same colors that I used for the rest of the blossom lady, I'm gonna use deck tan to paint those little white dots. And for the dots, I just make sure to mix the deck tan probably like 50-50 with water to make sure that it flows nicely, but this means that I can then load my brush and just smash dots all over the top of these mushrooms on the base. And when all the dots have been dotted, it is time to add a little bit more tint with some skeleton horde into the bottom of them so that they just had a little bit more brown to them and less yellow, and then stick them on the base. And as you can already see, this little fantastical world is starting to look awesome as it comes to life before our very eyes. Now I want to give this lady some lovely blush, and I'm going to do that by adding a fluorescent pink into my airbrush, turning the pressure down and putting quite a bit of water with this so that it's quite thin. I'm then going to use Magos purple to paint over her lips because I don't want this character to have a very bright lipstick or anything like that. I'm going to take some base flesh, and I'm going to use a very thin brush and paint this on the inner lower lid, just on the inside of the eye, and take some Magos purple to paint that into the eye to make the eye a little bit more redder on the inside. I will use some black to paint over her eyelashes, and this I've got to be very careful with. And obviously you don't want to make any messes on the outside, but if you make a mess on the inside, it's not the worst thing in the world, because you can paint over that in the next steps using what I used was highlight skin, and I can now cover up if I made any mistakes on the inside, but on the outside you just throw the model against the wall and walk away, because it will just make you sad that you have to go all the way back to the beginning and start painting that skin again. But we won't talk about the sad parts of painting models and move on to painting the eyes. Now for green eyes, which is what Blossom has, I'm going to use a brown as a base color, followed by a medium green, and then a very, very bright green. And the brown is going to be the main shape of the iris itself. This is also going to be very difficult to paint because she is painting facing to the one side, and always I find it's difficult to make things face one side. I don't know why, but I managed to get it right. And once I've got the brown in the right place, I'll put the medium green down and then use the lighter green to highlight that, and then put a small little dot of black on the inside. And now I'm going to use some gloss varnish to varnish her lips. I was going to varnish her eyes, but I forgot that I hadn't put the specular highlight, and so I added that specular highlight. And when I was done with that, I can now gloss the eyeballs, and obviously now we know what the next thing is to say is that I can put the head on top of this model. And also the bun, don't forget about the bun, and now I can call this one done. I hope that you managed to pick up something in this video that helps you with your future model painting, whatever the case may be. Very importantly, this is one of our own models, so from my own Patreon, if you're interested in painting this model or you're interested in the world that Groundeffected has created, we have created 2 completely original models. This is supporting artists, there's no AR, there's no RP, there's nothing involved in this. It's literally just a bunch of artists creating art that is unique and original, and this is exactly what it is. So if you want to be a part of this or you want to create one of these for yourself, go and check out my Patreon. I have managed to make sure that Frankie will put both Blossom and Pennybell in the starter pack or the welcome pack, whatever you want to call it. So if you are interested in these models, go check them out and paint yourself something unique and original and just stretch your legs in a different area of the model making sphere. Of course, we all know that if you're sitting on the toilet watching this video, you should wash your hands, because if you don't, that's terrible. And when you're done washing your hands, click the like button at the bottom of the video. Also, maybe subscribe if you haven't done that already. And this is the part of the video where I get to tell you that if you didn't... Actually, I should probably say thank you to the patrons who made this video even possible in the first place. I've spoken about it so much that I forgot to even thank them. Of course, if you want to blind my eyeballs and help make more amazing, incredible, original arts in the future, well then go check out my Patreon. It's now time for me to say the thing, and the thing goes like this. If you didn't like anything you saw in this video, I do not care, and it's now time for you to f*** off.